Cracking. Oh, that's helpful. I've started the stream, already off to a flyer. Already mucking up. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the FPL Tom kind of preview stream. I am joined, as always, by my good friend Jake. Yeah, sorry about that. You got to see some tweets instead of Jake's wonderful face. Jake, how are you doing today, mate?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, no, probably the most positive I've been so far on these chats regarding what we're going to be talking about. How about you?
Yeah, apart from losing my car keys today, that delayed the stream. So apologies if you were kind of sitting around at 7 o'clock, twiddling your thumbs, thinking, "Oh bloody hell, where's this stream?" Sorry, we had to delay it. Some idiot lost his car keys in a car park. True. Oh, okay. Apparently OBS is disconnected. That is helpful. That is very helpful. So I hope we're still streaming. Let us know if we're not. I can still hear you, Jake. But yeah. Hopefully, mate. It looks like everything is fine. Looks like there is no issues. If you can't hear us, let us know. It just seems to be a day of absolute disasters, to be honest, mate. It's just not going great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. You just weren't saying anything. I was like, can you hear me? Okay, it looks like...
No, I'm here. I was just patiently listening to you.
Witter on and... Oh, there we go. He's back. You kind of cut out then as well. Honestly, it's shambles FC, this. Absolute shambles, as always. Got a few people saying hello in the chat. Hello, Scottish Baguette. I know you're in here from the deadline stream where you triple captained Rodri. I'm not even making that up, Jake. Scottish Baguette in the chat. He triple captained Rodri on the deadline stream on Friday. Absolute goated.
Absolute joke.
Absolute goated behaviour, to be honest. Absolutely. You love to see it. You just love to see it, to be honest. But yeah, it seems like we've kind of got all our issues, well, mainly technical issues, out of the way now. So we are going to dive straight in. We're going to have a review of my team. We're going to have a review of Jake's team, talk about what went right, what went wrong in Game Week 3, and then look at our potential transfers for Game Week 4. And then at the end, we are going to have a debate on whether or not we should be looking to go for Sterling or go for Madison, as that seems to be kind of the main transfer kind of priority for a lot of people. I know obviously last week Jake had a vendetta against Sterling, and it went well. It went well for Jake. So
Let me just check the stopwatch to how long it's taken you to U-turn on. You're going to not mention Sterling.
5 minutes in, he's already mentioned Sterling. Scottish Baguette as well. He's going for another road captain. James Ward-Prowse versus Luton.
I mean,
it's not the worst. It's not the worst suggestion, to be honest.
It's definitely not. And if you're on the high of Rodri, then I can't really argue with it.
Exactly. We are going to start off with your team first, Jake. As you can see on screen, Jake actually had a green arrow for this week, taking a rank increase of about 2 million, mate. So fair play for that. Going up from about 6.5 to just shy of under 4 million. If you want to talk us through your team, what went well, what didn't go so well, and what kind of the highlights of your game week?
I think the main man that's gone well for me is that 4.5 million man in Matty Cash. Having him from the start, I knew that he was going to be someone that I'd be looking at long term rather than, of course, the first game week, which paid off as well because I didn't start him and they got walloped by Newcastle. But Villa have been really good ever since then. And Matty Cash, who the hell would have brought Matty Cash in to score, let alone score two? And he could have had a third.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely made my week look a lot better because that was one of the few differentials. I know quite a good chunk of people have got Cash, but there's still a nice ratio of who has and who hasn't got him. So I think that was probably what has taken me up quite a few places. Didn't realise it was in the millions.
Yeah, 2 million, mate. That's impressive.
It has to happen at some point. I think as well, I guess, you are going to make climbs by just having that extra point over someone. And I guess, you have to look at the captaincy as well. I think just the risky choice of going for Nicholas Jackson, it's paid off because I know it's only a couple of points difference to what people have done with Haaland. It does make the difference in the overall jumping of, well, going ahead of people, doesn't it? Because the amount of people that will have captained Haaland, I know a colleague of mine in work had triple captained him at the weekend. So
Whoops.
yeah, after that penalty miss, I think he wanted the ground to swallow him up. So I think he saved face ever so slightly with the goal, but against Sheffield United, you would have expected a lot more, and so did I. I just thought I'd go for something different because I personally expected Jackson to play maybe better than he ended up playing, but he also saved me a little bit with his late goal. Um, Thanks to the man that for some reason I was out to get. I wasn't, to be fair. Someone suggested whether they bring Sterling in. I was going very heavily from my Jackson bias because I'd watched him against West Ham, and it seemed, especially in the first half, Jackson had so many opportunities to be set through on goal. He seemed to have beaten the offside trap, seemed to be the man that had the pace over the defence at West Ham. But Sterling was the man that kept just failing to produce that final ball. So I was looking at more of a creativity side of things. I didn't expect Sterling to turn up as well as he did against Luton with his goals. There's no denying his quality, and I'm sure we'll talk about that soon. But yeah, got that one wrong with my advice, but Nicholas Jackson paid off. So it's maybe not quite evened itself out because I know Sterling did exceptionally well this weekend, but regardless, I think I've made amends with some of the performances in my team. I did go for FPL Tom's advice. Well, not advice, but his prediction of a goalless draw between Brentford and Palace. That didn't
Whoops.
pay off very well. But my bench wouldn't really have improved it much, so I can't really have a go there. Gibbs White, probably the weirdest one to have got 2 assists in 4 minutes at United. Did not expect that, but it's that really did help, and of course, just the odd points here, there, and everywhere definitely helped. You can probably see though, on the whole, Matty Cash has made a pretty shite team look quite decent this week. And yeah, there's a lot that you can pick through that team if you were to take Cash's points away, and it could have been a whole different week had that not gone out in my favour. So overall, I've got away with it, I'd probably say, because Cash ain't going to get a brace every week.
He's not. He's not. I think Morgan Gibbs White doing extremely well was kind of a shock as well to the system. Richarlison's 0-pointer. That's
Yeah, well, I think that's more to look for when we look at the team I've got for this week and my short-term plans, what I'm planning on doing, the transfers I'm going to make, and the potential a potential wild card that I'm debating over the next the next few weeks. There are definitely players that do need to leave this club,
and
and
never
yeah,
to return.
Charleston's one. There's Luke Shaw, who seems like he could be out for a bit. There are players that don't even seem to be getting into their team, like Trossard, namely João Pedro. Even despite his game week 1 performance, he just doesn't seem to be able to maintain his position in the team. And then yeah, the defense could be improved, and there's one man who just can't seem to keep a clean sheet and was lucky to stay on the pitch maybe, and he's my most expensive defender of all in Trent. So yeah, there are definitely improvements to be made, but like I said, this week went well, and I think the biggest win of this, considering that there's a international break after this week, so maybe a little bit rash for me to commit to a wild card just before the international break. I didn't actually make any transfers last week, so I have got 2 free transfers to go towards this weekend's fixtures. So I think that's paid off quite well.
I think you're teeing yourself up kind of nicely here to kind of go and look at your team for that next week, to be honest. So we're going to move on to that screen. We are going to move on to your game week 4 team, and looking at it, it does look quite strong. There are 2 free transfers that you have as well. Like you said, international break coming up. If you could get these next 2 transfers right, I definitely think your squad could be in a position where maybe you could hold that wild card till around game week 8, game week 9, when there's a big fixture swing. That could be something that you potentially could look at as well, to be honest. Because if you get the next 2 transfers right, you've got players with good fixtures coming up as well. I definitely think there is some possibility for kind of delaying that wild card a little bit with your team. But I'll let you talk through your team.
Sound, yeah. I think things have gone pretty abysmally for Everton. I think having Pickford in from the start was maybe a sensible one, or at least an understandable choice to go for, considering the start of the season that they had on paper. it's gone horribly wrong for them. They've been pretty dire. I know they've had maybe like the win in the XG category
Hmm.
in their games, but that's not the point. They are so wasteful in front of goal, and then they haven't been able to keep a clean sheet, let alone they've not scored and they've lost every single game. So Jordan Pickford in goal is. I mean, when that wild card comes, I don't know if it'll last till game week 8. The wait, to be honest, because I'm going to use a free transfer on a goalkeeper just yet, because I do think those two keepers could just come up with something. I don't want to jump the gun a little bit. I guess you could even argue Turner would be the more sensible option to start just for saves potentially, because I do think Chelsea will play well against Forest, but then again, who knows how Forest turn up, because I think they've looked sharp at times, but have also shipped quite a few goals. So that's the reason I think I've really gone for Pickford, because of course they're playing Sheffield United, who, to be honest, had a spirited performance on Sunday. Maybe that's just because it was the champions and it like they kept themselves in the game for long enough to maybe just go for it a little bit. Probably unlucky not to have equalised at the end again. And maybe the fact that they're playing against Everton this time. I don't know if your motivation changes slightly because you're not playing against such a big team. So they've just got to be careful they don't underestimate them, because as much as Everton have been a bit piss poor, to put it plainly, they still have the experience of Premier League football, and so it's going to be an interesting one. But I'm not going to risk a transfer on either goalkeeper this week, that's for sure.
That makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, my defence. Somehow I've decided to bench Matty Cash after his performance. I really don't know how that game's going to go. I know Liverpool's performance against Newcastle was really was really impressive considering the amount of time they spent with 10 men. They did well just to stay in the game, and then it was pretty much a smash and grab at the end. Um, and I do think that'll spur Liverpool on. I think being at home should have enough quality. But that being said, I'm not faulting Villa's start to the season. They've been exceptional, bar the Newcastle performance. But I do think that might have just been a little bit of getting used to one another. And Newcastle had the fans first game of the season. That's bound to have an effect. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure how that'll go. I don't think Trent's going to keep a clean sheet, so that might be somewhere where I use one of my transfers. Um, I like Collins against Bournemouth. I do quite like Brentford at home, so I'm gonna probably stick to that one. We've got Mark Gahey at home to Wolves. Another one I'm kind of happy with, to be honest. Both of those teams do seem to be quite compact defensively. I know it finished 1-1 in the end, but didn't seem to be many chances that and either side should really have scored. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but I don't really feel like anyone really deserved to win that one necessarily.
No, I agree with that point, to be honest.
So yeah, so I think I'm going to keep with those two centre backs. I can see one of them at least getting a clean sheet. Shame I picked the wrong Palace defender, to be honest. And Anderson could have got a few more points, but
Yeah.
that is what it is. Gibbs White. I mean, it just depends on the two transfers I make. I don't know if anyone's got any suggestions from that team. I'm sure Tom will have a couple, but Gibbs White won't be leaving my team. It's just whether anyone can come in maybe for a Trossard and make their way into the team ahead of Gibbs White. That being said, yet again, though, Gibbs White did just get two completely out of the blue assists away at United. So is it worth maybe keeping him in? I'm not sure. Salah stays, of course he does, unless I'm to like really make a real big change. But I think I'm going to just stick with him for the time being because he's still getting points, and I feel like there's more clear transfers that need to be made, players that need to leave this team.
Yeah.
If I'm only using two free transfers, which means that Jeffrey Schlupp stays another week, I think.
Go on, Jeffrey, lad.
Yeah.
Big up.
Richarlison did score yesterday, but God, he was awful. He was so bad at the weekend. I was watching that game all the way through. Don't know how he missed the one-on-one, but that is, yeah, everyone misses their chances. But my word, every attack Spurs had, he would just. There was one point where they were on the break and he stood on the ball. I don't know if you caught that bit, Tom. But yeah, he was terrible, and they arguably they played a bit better when he got taken off. And there are so many options at Spurs. Like Madison does seem like the obvious one to go for if I'm going to just go for a straight swap. I think yesterday's performance is probably a bit of a blip. It's a bit of a disappointing one, bit of maybe a one step forward, two steps back, some may think, to have gone out the cup so early. But that being said, I do think Spurs have started quite well. So I'm not ruling out a Spurs player for that if I were to do a straight transfer for Richarlison. And then, yeah, up top, Jackson, of course, stays. I'm not about to take him out. I do fancy him to score again. João Pedro, they're at home. I know it's Newcastle. If he were to play, he's definitely going to have chances. It's just whether he's going to play. And if he is, I can't even see him playing the full 90. So I'm a bit wary over playing him and keeping him in my team. Haaland, we don't need to really talk about. I feel like that's just does what it says on the tin, really. And then, yeah, that's the queries that then come into it. I would say, in conclusion with my team, there are 4 players I'm oohing and ahhing over who to take out. 4 or 5, but I would say it's Richarlison, João Pedro, Trossard, who can't seem to get a full-on game. Didn't play particularly well against Fulham. Didn't really have much of an impact. Luke Shaw's injured, and I guess you could then also bring into the fact that I'm pretty confident Trent's not keeping a clean sheet anytime soon. So yeah, there's the spine of my team needs some work, but I've got 2 free transfers to make a bit of amends. Maybe taking Trent out would be the wise thing as well if I wanted to free up some money. But then I don't want to just ignore the fact that I've got Shaw injured on my bench and Trossard, João Pedro who don't play, and then Big Richie who can't even fucking touch the ball without doing something wrong.
How much money have you got left in the bank?
Not actually too sure. Let me double check that.
I'll let you double check that. I'll kind of answer some questions that have been coming in the chat. A few of the regulars popping up in the chat. Archie, Jacob, 234. He's always here. Good little laugh. We've had some questions. Do you think potentially Dejan Kulusevski is a shout for this week? Seems to be playing a lot of minutes on that right-hand side, but I think if I was to go for a Spurs player, I'd just go for Madison. There's only 0.7 difference now, but I just think with Madison, you get the free kicks, you get the corners on top of that as well. So there's added kind of incentive to potentially go for him as well. I support Mansfield. Jake supports Liverpool for his sins. Why don't you support your local lad?
I do, lad. I went last night. Hey, as if you went through, though. It's an exciting night for you. Do you reckon you could get an Anfield or an Old Trafford?
Mate, I'd actually be buzzing if we got like Anfield or Old Trafford away. It would be honestly insane. But saying all this, we're going to get Sutton away now, to be honest.
You get Leicester now, and it'll be what could have been.
Yeah. Any injuries from Prem players in the Cup so far? I think Richarlison had a slight issue, but it didn't seem too major, so just maybe look at that as a potential one.
Who's got Richarlison in their team?
What idiots have got Richarlison in the team? So yeah, that would be the only one that I'd potentially be looking for. Other questions. Sean Murphy's in the chat. He's a familiar lad. I don't think I've ever seen him before. He's asked Jesus and Sterling or Luis Diaz and Nketiah. I know Sean's on a wild card this week as well.
Sterling's got a better fixture than Luis Diaz. I would definitely say that much. You'd think that both of them will last the large chunk of the game unless a Liverpool player gets sent off. I don't know about the strikers. Like, did Jesus didn't feature? Did he?
He didn't feature, but he is back, so maybe.
And Nketiah scored though, didn't he? He came off the bench, scored. I feel like you've got to go Nketiah, but then it's one of those things where how long term is that pick going to be? Maybe this weekend will be Nketiah's last before Jesus starts. Is there maybe another option, and is it worth maybe having Sterling or Diaz as the conversation and maybe having an alternative striker?
Yeah, I agree with that point as well. With the international break as well, you imagine Jesus is not going, so probably would get a little bit of a break and more time to recover as well. So you'd imagine Nketiah probably's got this week, maybe 60 minutes max, maybe 70, and then that's probably it. He's back to the bench.
Yeah. Well, Jesus is what, 7.5 million I'm seeing here. 7.9 million, sorry.
7.9. I was going to say I thought he was 8, but I couldn't quite remember if he'd had a price drop or not. So
So
7.9.
there are so many other options. So if you were to go for Sterling, there are so many other options. There's Isaac, who's a great shout. He seems so dangerous this season.
With their
They don't,
fixtures as well.
to be honest, it's what'd you say? Sorry.
With their fixtures coming up as well, game week 6 and beyond for Newcastle are really, really tasty. Really, really
So
good fixtures.
he's doing a wild card. Maybe he's already gone for him, but there are so many good picks. There's Jackson, and then I assume you're going to have Haaland in there. So there are three really solid picks. And if you don't like Jackson, you've got Watkins. Like all of these players are going to be cheaper than Jesus, I think, or Watkins maybe about the same at least. So yeah, I feel like it may just be a safer option, especially long term, to go for a non-Arsenal striker and just commit to maybe a midfielder for Arsenal.
Murph's thanked us for the advice and said he's going to see us abroad this weekend. I don't know, lad. I don't know. I don't really.
Where's he off?
I don't know, because I've not even seen him since he's come back to the flat, to be honest. And I've lost my car keys, so I'm not really driving to the airport anymore. So
Why do you ask him if you can borrow his off him?
yeah. Archie's asked, is Adoji 100% okay after his knock on Saturday? I don't know. I need to wait and see for Ange's press conference, because that is a problem that I might have for my team. I also had a look. Is Mickey van der Ven out injured? Couldn't see anything and couldn't see if he went off yesterday. So there's no news on that one. So it's probably just worth waiting until Postecoglou's press conference on Thursday or Friday for that one. And then kind of deciding what to do with that. But yeah, Jake, I think you're in a good place. You've got your 2 free transfers. I definitely think there are some moves that you potentially could make. Did you have a look how much you had in the bank?
Yeah, I've just got 0.5 million. So
0.5
I mean,
in the bank. So is Luke
taking
Shaw?
Trent out would really ease up money, wouldn't it?
It would. But what you could do is maybe take Luke Shaw out this week for someone like Chilwell or Gusto or a Doji, someone like that.
Yeah, I like them. See what Adoji's looking like at the weekend.
Yeah. See if he's fit.
Who do you think has the best game this weekend for a clean sheet? I'd probably say it's City, wouldn't?
Yeah, 100% City at home. So
maybe I'm bringing a City player because I don't 100% back Chelsea to not concede, especially against Forest, who seem to be able to actually pull together a few goals. But then again, of course, you can contradict that with the fact that the fullbacks do seem to be able to bank on a goal or an assist at the moment, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do quite like the thought of maybe a City player, which is a bit of a risk in itself because Pep will play the reserves or something.
He's lining up some lad from the academy just to drop Diaz with.
Cole Palmer will somehow make an appearance.
One last go, Cole. One last go, mate. But yeah, I definitely think that would... Maybe if you dropped Shaw down to like an Adoji, that would free up about £1 million, which you could use to then maybe look to move Trossard on or Richarlison maybe to Madison.
Yeah, I feel like it makes sense maybe to get rid of Shaw, like you said, and I do think as much as Trossard has the potential to be a good player, just doesn't play enough.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't think that's a terrible shout. Watkins likes a goal against Liverpool.
He does. He's been, you know what, so far, I think I looked today at work, he's top or second for expected goal involvement in the whole Premier League. Wow. So, and Villa they're looking good, they're cooking.
Maybe I do that. Trossard out, João Pedro out, some nonsense like that.
Yeah.
Bring in Watkins and Cash and bench Salah and Trent.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Ladies.
Whilst you're at it, we might as well just triple captain Pickford.
You know what, lad? Why not? On that though, to be honest, I think Everton have been a little bit unlucky. Obviously, you mentioned the kind of like underlying data that they've been absolutely just accumulating and not really converting. But you feel if Sean Dyche loses to Sheffield United, his job is going to be under like massive pressure because the boos are already ringing round Goodison. They've started that anthem a little bit early this season. If they lose to Sheffield United, like he's surely got to be under a lot of pressure.
Was that anthem the new song for Better?
Yeah. It was just a boo. That was it. Just ringing round.
Well, it's a good time to sign a striker, so hopefully he can prove himself fast.
Hey mate, I saw some clips of him today. He is built like every pro club striker you see. He's massive. He's 6'4". He's honestly got giant legs. He's got the touch of like what's like a really bad touch. I don't know, Jackson's kind of touch on Friday night, just the ball bouncing off his feet. But he's quick. He is quick. He looks powerful as well. So he might be a shot.
So, wait, what are you saying? Are you saying João Pedro for better?
You know what, lad? Beto's not even in the game. I wanted to go and have a look how much he was because I was like, maybe a little 1 week punt here on old Beto. But who knows? Who knows? I definitely think he might be a player to potentially keep an eye on. To be honest.
Mm. Well, he's gonna have to be because Neil Maupay is having no luck at Everton, and Calvert-Lewin can't seem to keep himself fit, can he?
No, he can't keep himself fit. Always injured. Right, let's move on to my team for game week 3. It went pretty well. I'm gonna put it out there. It went pretty well. The transfers that I made, they worked. We took Gabriel out after I knew he was going to be benched again this week. Adoji absolutely delivered the goods for me, and I was very happy with that. 12 huge points for him. Obviously, there is the question marks about his fitness potentially for this week. Obviously, left the game early, but he did walk off. So hopefully it is kind of a positive sign. Didn't play as well in the Carabao Cup. I believe, if I'm correct in thinking, he was on the bench as well. So hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he's okay. And I don't have to kind of worry about that one, to be honest. But, you know, a very good pick. Good next 2 fixtures as well. Rotates extremely well with the other defenders that I have in this side. So he's a good kind of long-term pick. Bruno finally returned after like accumulating enough XG and XA to like win the league by himself. So I was happy about that. Fully deserved as well. Obviously, the performance from Manchester United as a team wasn't great, but Bruno again still ticking over. I think if I had Rashford, I'd maybe contemplate looking to sell him this week, as I still don't think he looked amazing. But yeah, I think Bruno's the better of the 2 United options at this point in time. So if I had Bruno, I wouldn't be looking to sell. If I had Rashford, I think I would maybe be looking to sell to a Madison or a Sterling potentially. Other players, Saka, he did all right. Jackson, yeah, I wasn't overly impressed with his like overall game, but he got the goal, and that's all that matters. On another day, Erling Haaland comes away from that game with a hat-trick, very easy. Had 2 big opportunities, one that he took, one that he missed, and obviously the penalty miss as well. So on another day, he could have come away with a haul, but it wasn't meant to be. The captainers of Jake and Jackson rejoiced at Haaland's missed penalty. Salah as well, I think he deserves an honourable mention. Won me my head-to-head week this week. I was losing to a guy with Newcastle defenders. He had Kieran Trippier. Kieran Trippier got booked and then conceded the second goal off a Salah assist to win me my head-to-head game this week. So very happy with that. We had a rank boost of, I think we were at 606,000 last week. We're now up to 86,000 in the world. So a very good week. The building blocks are starting to kind of form with this team as well. So I'm very happy with that and the general structure of the side at the moment.
Not much of a climb though, is it?
Not much of a climb. Hey lad, it's no 2 million climb like you. No 2 million climb. You absolutely had a stormer of a week. My little like poxy, 500 and whatever, 20,000 rank. Peasants.
Pathetic, mate. It's pathetic.
Yeah. Like, I just need to grow up, really. Just grow up. But yeah, I think the team did exceptionally well, to be honest, this week. Could have gone a lot better, but also could have gone a hell of a lot worse. So I'm happy with that. I am happy with that. If you've got any comments, Jake, on it, apart from my rank being dismal.
No, your rank's absolutely brilliant, but the rise in rank could do with a little bit of work. I mean, there's only 86,000 for you to really go now. So, no, it's really impressive. I really like the team. Mbuemo, where penalty? Don't know. But I feel like a lot of people would have felt that pain as well. That would have been something typical of my luck because I would have brought Mbuemo in and he would have done absolutely nothing like he did. But I'm sure he'll keep firing. He seems to be the only guy that can for Brentford. Don't get me wrong, I'm not faulting the other strikers, but it seems Mbuemo is the focal point. Without him, they probably would struggle. yeah, I really like the team. I think Palace have a good game coming up. So as we'll see, I'm sure you've got Eze in your team next week.
Oh yeah.
Um, I can't really fault it, to be honest, lad. Are you worried about Johnson?
Yeah, big time.
Mm.
I'm really worried about Johnson, to be honest, and his kind of potential minutes. I don't really like to make free transfers for goalkeepers either. So it does put me in a sticky position. I might just hold out with just Turner up until kind of game week 9 and hope for the best along that time period. That's something that I might do. But if I'm in a position where I've got a free transfer left, then maybe I do. But yeah, I'm quite worried. I've got him on Sora as well. And if you play that game, goalkeepers aren't cheap. They are quite expensive. So if he doesn't start playing, then yeah, depression all over, to be honest, in my fantasy and in Sora as well. But yeah, let's take a look at how it's lining up for game week 4. Let's take a look. So we have gone for Johnson in goal. Wolves at home is a very strong fixture for Crystal Palace. I think they're around 5th or 6th for XG conceded over the opening couple game weeks as well. So they are looking at very solid defence. As always, under kind of Roy Hodgson teams, defence is something that you can always rely on, very strong. We've gone with a back three of Adoji, Henry and Chilwell. I think that's probably the best back three I could build. Estupinian at Newcastle at home. Maybe I go for him if we get news that Adoji might not play or he's got a potential risk of injury. And I definitely think Estupinian is one of those players that could easily get an attacking return against Newcastle. But that defence just looks a little bit wobbly. I think West Ham kind of put a blueprint together of how to set up against Brighton. You know, hit them on the counter, play that super low block. Don't be kind of trapped or get involved in their kind of pressing traps that they set. Just sit back, wait on the counter, and then explode into life. Yet to keep a clean sheet as well, Brighton. So, you know, maybe it is one that I look at over the next few weeks. Do I get rid of Estupinian? Fixtures aren't great. Maybe is one that might come out. But I think there's other areas that need to be addressed. The rest of the back line, Rico Henry at home to Bournemouth. That should be a good fixture. And then Chilwell against Nottingham Forest. You hope he can get a clean sheet and maybe an attacking return. In the midfield, I think Salah's going to be the one that's going to come out of my team this week for James Madison. Frees up a lot of money. Yes, he has been kind of getting returns over the opening couple game weeks, but I don't know if you feel the same, but he just doesn't look the same Salah of old, if you know what I mean. He's not the same Salah as like 2 years ago or even last year, to be honest. He just doesn't warrant that £12.5 million price tag for me. And I think with
No,
that money...
sorry, he definitely doesn't warrant that price tag, but
Yeah.
it's a big move taking him out
It
against
is.
Villa at home.
Mate, it's a massive move, and it could easily lead with egg on my face and me down in, you know, the doldrums, the rank, you know, the 6 million rank where I have to gain 2 million rank every week. It very easily could lead to that, to be honest. And Buemo, home to Bournemouth. Obviously, a lot of people bought him in last week, disappointed because he didn't score a penalty. It's not going to happen every week, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. Saka, home to United, and Bruno away to Arsenal. That game could go either way, to be honest. So we've got both kind of penalty takers in there. Hopefully something good happens. I can see there's some debate in the chat about Eze, whether or not you should sell him because he's not returned yet. His underlying data is just incredible. Very similar to Bruno's looking into game week 3. Picking up the most shots, most attempted assists over kind of the opening few game weeks. He is Palace's key danger man as well. You saw that last night. Sorry. Jeffrey Schlupp is number 1. Then it's Eze. But yeah, Eze he's just the key man, to be honest. If you look at the game against Plymouth in the Carabao Cup, I know it's only Plymouth and you can say whatever you want, but he completely flipped that game on its head. As soon as he came on, everything kind of flowed for Palace. Picked up 2 assists as well in about 45 minutes. So if he can do that against Wolves, a team that have kind of been a little bit unsure how to kind of judge them in these opening fixtures, you'd hope that Eze can at least get an attacking return in that one. I know a lot of other top FPL kind of content creators are potentially looking at bringing in Eze this week as well as an option. And I definitely think if you have him, just keep him. He's not worth selling. Wolves at home is a great fixture. And I think it's only a matter of time before he does get an attacking return. And then the front two...
Sorry to interrupt,
Go on,
but
mate,
Jeffrey Schlupp got an assist yesterday.
Oh, did he? Did he? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot the other key danger man, Jeffrey Schlupp. He's just a bagsman, isn't it? Oh, our old Jeffrey.
He is. Now, just before you move on
Go
to
on
the
then.
rest of your team, I think Eze would be. I think it would be a very silly thing to take him out at home to Wolves. I think if you've got him in, Wolves is the type of game that you want him in for. He's the type of player you'd be looking to bring in for that kind of fixture. So I completely agree with the fact that you've got him in. And to be honest, from what you've said, even if he doesn't get the points this week, I still don't think it's worth the rash removal of him because he's involved in absolutely everything they do, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He's just like, you watch the games and you're just like, it's just the Eze show. It's just a shame that Mateta is around him and, Ayew are up front, because you put him in a better team. My God, this man is like getting points every single week. So hopefully, they can start converting the chances. I've seen Odsonne Edouard as well as like accumulated ridiculous amounts of XG and has just been terrible in front of goal. He's got the Neil Maupay syndrome, to be honest. But yeah. And then the front two, Nicholas Jackson and Haaland. This is kind of going through my mind at the moment. Do I play the triple captainship in game week 4?
I would
It's
add.
This is the thing though. Fulham have the highest XG conceded over the opening couple game weeks. They've been terrible at the back. I know they got the 2-2 against Arsenal, but Arsenal still created a lot of opportunities against them. Haaland could have cooked against Sheffield United. It just wasn't quite there. He didn't quite have all the ingredients. But I feel now he's a little bit pissed after that game. He's got his celery. He's got his cheese. He's got whatever other ingredients he needs. He's going to make, I don't know, a good old ratatouille. And he's going to absolutely cook against Fulham. I don't even know what that analogy was in the end, to be honest. But I just feel he's...
I didn't know that's what you made. Ratatouille, celery and cheese.
Did you not watch the film? Remy the mouse
I
is just
didn't.
there.
I didn't realize that was all it took.
Yeah, he's just there. He's just going, oh, I'll have the celery, please, pal. And then he goes, oh, I'll have the cheese as well, please, mate. But
Well,
yeah,
that's it. I can understand that, and I feel like for it to be a really successful triple captain, and you're not going for him on a double game week, surely he needs to get 3 or 4.
he does. He does. But this is the thing. There's going to be a lot less double game weeks this year. So
Well, we'll see. But then, of course, they have got the Club World Cup, don't they? At some point.
they do. And there is that double game week that will be kind of put together for Manchester City. And I think Ben Crellin put the tweet out and it's like, it's Everton and Brentford. So
Oh, Tom.
I know, but I'm tempted. I am tempted, but I think today was a sign. I lost the car keys. That was the sign for me that we should not be pressing that triple captain button at all. If we'd have gone home, we'd have started this stream on time. I'd have made my ratatouille analogy, and people would have loved it. Then we would have been hitting it. Jacob in the chats wanted me to go for it. We're on the edge, Jacob. It could be one on the Friday stream that I just lose my head, and I could do it. I genuinely could do it.
It's all right, lad. I'll be there Friday, just edging you on.
Everyone in the TikTok chat's just going to be like, oh, do it, do it. And then they also just put like, they want the NPC kind of moves. I don't know if you've seen them on TikTok, lad.
Oh yeah, where they're like eating like they're smelling roses and stuff.
There's one that I'll definitely send you after this. If you're not familiar, it's the guy making certain hand actions with his mouth involved as well. That is a sexual act, and he's making bare money on TikTok doing that. So maybe that's what we'll whip out
Okay.
on TikTok as well. If
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't think the stream would get to this point, but here we are.
I'm actually baffled, like that you can make the money on it. Well,
I
you may
think,
have given me my next career outing
lad, I think he's making like $2,000 a day doing that,
just by like
making
collecting
actions.
things.
Yeah. I'll send you one after this. But yeah, he's making absolute stacks. This is where we're
Wow.
going wrong. We're going to stop the FPL streams. We're going to be, down in the glizzies, and we're going to be on it.
Well, the thing is, lad, have you ever actually said on a stream what FPL stands for in your name?
No.
Well, there we go. I'm sure we can make it work somehow.
Oh yeah. Get your suggestions in the chat right now. What dirty things could FPL stand for? I'm just looking forward to the comments flying in now with inappropriate stuff. Get them in, ladies and gentlemen. Get them in. Oh, I've just splashed myself with water. This stream it's chaos. It's absolute chaos today. Absolute chaos.
I'm
But
excited. I'm excited to know what they say now. I don't actually really care what the team, what happens with Sterling and Bruno and all that nonsense.
yeah.
I just want to know what FPL stands for.
Forget your questions. What is the sexual meaning of FPL? What is it? What is it, ladies and gentlemen? We're gagging to know. That wasn't a pun either. Um, but yeah, that's the team. That's the team for Game Week 4. Potential triple captaincy is on the way. In the next section, we're going to look at the kind of debate between Raheem Sterling and James Madison. But while we're kind of going through that and preparing that, make sure to be getting your questions in, as we do try and answer every single one on the question. I can see we've had one come in. Guys, what do you think about Sarr from Tottenham? 4.5, and he's had 2 pretty good game weeks as well. Jake, what do you think about him?
I think he does look good. I'm not the curse of my mouth here. I've got to be careful what I say because I said absolutely everything I could to not bring Sterling in, and it really did not pay. Well, it didn't end up well, did it? But I do feel like Sarr's just a little bit more defensive. Don't get me wrong, like he does seem to get in the right positions, and he did score. But I probably wouldn't go for him. I mean, like, was it 4.5 million? It's not a bad person for squad depth, maybe, but I don't know. I personally I wouldn't go for him. I don't think. What about you?
I saw a tactical kind of breakdown of what the positions that Spurs are getting into, and him and Madison kind of occupy similar areas where they randomly burst into the box as kind of the free man. So I definitely think he's going to get opportunities. And if you need a 4.5 midfielder who's going to just sit on your bench most weeks and like play when you absolutely need him to, it's not the worst suggestion. But I think this season, with kind of the depth and strength of that midfield, I think it works better to have a kind of a strong 5-man midfield rather than.
Well, Højbjerg's like allegedly like in talks elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe it does seem more likely that Sarr will be a constant member in that first 11.
No Carabao Cup either, no Europe, so they're going to probably be playing the exact same team every single week, to be honest. Jacob Lewis asked about his wild card. It includes Sterling, Bruno Fernandes, Adoji, and on his bench, Madison, Awoniyi, Henry, and Anderson. What do you think of those players so far, Jake, in Jacob Lewis's draft?
Very, very good. Don't think Madison should be on the bench.
I agree with that.
I think Henry should be on the bench.
Agree with that.
And I mean, if you're going by my logic and the team that I've gone for this week, I feel like even Anderson has a shout in starting because of the home game against Wolves.
Yeah.
Depends what else you've got defensive wise, because I can understand why Adoji would start, but I guess maybe you'd swap Adoji out should he be injured or have a doubt. But your bench is looking way too strong, I would say. I think you should be playing them, and surely there should be players in your starting 11 that can sit this one out at the very least. Otherwise, you've absolutely cracked the code because that is one strong bench.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, Adoji on the bench on his own. Fair enough.
Yeah. A 1 year.
Well, fair enough. Like, I mean, I would play Adoji if you can, but it just depends on how fit he's going to be or if we have any like leaks or something closer to the time.
Yeah. A 1U was a player I was going to ask you about. Now scored in 7 Premier League games in a row. Is that right? 7? I think it's 7. Could be 8. But 7 Premier League games in a row. The fixtures aren't great, but when you get a player who's in that kind of form, is it worth going over form over fixtures?
I don't see why not. Because, like I said, I don't fancy Chelsea to keep a clean sheet all the time. To be honest, I know they did against Luton, but Forest did give quite a few problems to United. They haven't been too bad, to be fair, in front of goal. They conjured up that last-minute winner against Sheffield the other week as well. So, like, they do seem to be able to create decent chances, and so. Are we only being at the end of it? Does seem to be the better. Well, I mean, if you're going to have a striker for Forest, there's no doubt that you go for him. I don't know. I'm oohing and ahhing over whether even to have Gibbs White in this week, because as much as I don't back Chelsea I don't back them defensively. I just don't know if this is the week. But I think that's more my gut speaking than actually any statistics to prove it, because I think the statistics would suggest that Forest will cause will cause them problems at times as much as Chelsea should have the edge over them. Um, so if someone does go on Arione, why would you not? Because he's going to be so confident at the moment. He's going to feel like everything he hits is just going to be hit perfectly. So I think the question is whether Arione gets the opportunity in front of goal, because I think if he does get that chance, it's going to be quite likely he hits the back of the net because of the confidence he's going to be having at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree with that, to be honest. To answer your question, Archie, where do I find all this information? There are a few places. I use Fantasy Football Fix is the one, which is where I get most of my data from. Draft Hound, which if you want to go and check that out, there's a link to that in the description. If you sign up there, I get some referral money, so that helps me and this channel out. And then FB Ref is a great one for like if you can't be asked paying for any of these systems or softwares. It's free. It's pretty decent. So yeah. Jacob, his midfield is Saka and Buemo, Sterling, Madison, and he wants to get Eze in. Who would you?
And Fernandes, he's got.
And Fernandes, sorry, yeah. Who would you drop out of that lot to potentially get Eze in?
Wow. In all honesty, for this game week, I probably wouldn't take anyone out. But then you are contradicting yourself with Bruno and Saka. Arsenal are at home. United do seem to be a bit shaky and have got injury problems with Varane being ruled out, with Shaw being ruled out. So you probably back Saka on top of the fact that he's on penalties. But then at the same time, I wouldn't take out Bruno because Bruno could just be there. And of course, he's most likely to take the set pieces. So if United are going to get anything out of this game and Arsenal are going to score, they're going to need to conjure up something. And it's probably going to be Bruno that's going to be the answer there. It's a tough one. So if you want, I would say, personally, I'd probably stick with the 5 you've got. But if you're desperate to bring Eze in, I'd probably take out Bruno. And I know that's not me saying. I'm not saying that in the sense that I would prefer Eze there, to be honest, because I probably would stick with the 5 in that situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're desperate to bring Eze in, I think out of all of them for this weekend, Fernandes is probably the one you'd take out.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. I can get on board with that. FPL Tigers asked score prediction for the City versus Fulham game. I'm going 6-0 City.
What did you go for Sheffield? Can I just ask?
I went
6-0 City.
I went 6-0 City. So it's going to be 2-1 City. They're going to scrape it again.
Rodri captain, guys.
Rodri triple captain. French baguette or sausage baguette or whatever his name was. I'm going to find his name. Sausage baguette. It was sausage
French
baguette.
That sounds so believable.
It's because, baguettes are French.
French baguette. Oh, yeah, of course.
So, it just makes sense. But he went Rodri captain after not listening to my advice on the deadline stream. Look how that went. Worked wonders. Worked absolute wonders, to be honest.
I also think City are going to absolutely whitewash Fulham. I actually somehow managed to get my Super 6 prediction correct for the City-Sheffield game. I went 2-1 City. But I'm going to back you, lad. 6-0 City, I'm with you.
Yeah, he's here. It's when Fulham absolutely turn it over now. It's going to be a 1-0 Fulham.
Oh, it's Scottish baguette. It's not even sausage baguette.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
So if you want your name incorrectly pronounced in the chat, whack it in. Whack it in, ladies and gentlemen. That is the mood we're in today. If you want to come to the deadline stream on Friday and see my predictions for the week, Jake will be in the chat as well, trundling along, asking people about Jeffrey Schlupp. I'm sure we'll do other cool stuff on the chat as well. There's always something going off in the chat. You get people like Scottish baguette, not sausage baguette, in the chat as well. Triple captain in people like Rodri. Someone bench boosted as well this week, and that went extremely well for them, who was in the chat. So I can't remember who that was, but someone went extremely well, to be honest. I think Jacob bench boosted well, and from the sounds of it, didn't quite go to plan either, did it, mate? So sorry about that. Whoops. So yeah, top quality advice as always on this channel. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about the Sterling versus Madison debate, as that's kind of the two main transfers that people are potentially going for in game week 4. It's kind of the debate I'm having with my own team, whether or not to replace Salah with one of Sterling or Madison. Both have done exceptionally well over kind of the opening 3 game weeks. Sterling more so in game week 3. Madison has been a very consistent performer in the kind of more so, and has done a little bit better over kind of the longer period, but it is what it is. Jake, if you had to pick one right now, gun to your head, we've got the family hostage, which one are you going for, Sterling or Madison?
Sterling, no doubt, mate. I've had him since week 1. No doubt about him. I think he's a fantastic footballer, and I think he's the reason Chelsea are ticking. Although, to be fair, as much as I say that, I think I would be more leaning towards Sterling, and it's been 1 week. If you get those 2 clips up of what I've said about Sterling the past 2 weeks, it's
not going
to make me look like I'll sound a little bit deluded, but I was really impressed with Sterling, and it was only Luton, you could say. It was under the lights at Stamford Bridge. That's bound to have an effect on Chelsea's performance, but he was really good, and I do think he should kick on from there, especially if, the fixture does suit Chelsea more than Spurs suits Burnley. Classic Spurs, I think Burnley will. Surely Vincent Kompany's got to be like, we've got to get into their heads, because you can rattle Spurs. I do like how Spurs have been this season, and I think Madison's a great pick, but I think game week 4, that gun to my head is going to pick Sterling this week.
Nice. So you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Always back James Madison. Go against Jake, because it never usually goes well, to be honest. It was Jacob who would bench boost, and it didn't go to plan. Apparently, it went to shit. Archie's on the other hand, he had a doji on his bench boost. That went well. So see, we can't win them all, but we'll get some right. Personally, for me, I think my head is leading a little bit more towards James Madison, to be honest. I just think with Spurs kind of having no European football, no cup competitions, him being an exceptional asset who's on free kicks and corners as well, I just think he's the more wiser move. I've had James Madison over the past few seasons as well. He's served me very well during those times, so good, happy memories. Whereas Sterling, I think with the Cole Palmer addition, they've also got Madueke. He did kind of stat pad against Luton as well, which is one of those things. If you look at his underlying data over the first 2, it's not really there. Then if you look post-Luton, it's kind of all there. So a little bit of stat padding. Is it Sterling's amazing and had a great performance? Or is it the question of, are Luton just really bad? That's kind of the big question for me.
No, fair enough. I can understand that. Would you expect both of these to be called up by England?
Yeah, 100%. Sterling's obviously one of Gareth Southgate's favourites, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And James Madison started the season really brightly.
Neither of them are going to get a break then, are they? So there's no potential advantage on either of them once the internationals are done. They're both going to have had
I think it's just like the depth and the quality of positions, isn't it? Obviously, with Chelsea signing Cole Palmer, it is going to add competition for Sterling. Whereas you look at that Spurs side and you're like, who would replace Madison? There's no one.
Richarlison.
Oh, sorry, Richarlison.
Saw rumours that they were in contact with Ansu Fati.
Wow.
Which is a random one, yeah.
It's a mad one. I think they just need to go buy a striker, to be honest. I think if they got a striker, they just look so, just 10 times better.
They create chance after chance, I completely agree. They just lack that finishing touch up front. I think they'd be wise to not go for someone of. I know there's no Harry Kane alternative, but I mean I think they would be better just going for that poacher rather than someone who needs to drop back, someone that just sticks up and is always there in the box when you need him. I think that was one thing I noticed, and I don't know if Richarlison's been told to act like Harry Kane, and he's doing a terrible job at it. But whenever Spurs are on the break, Richarlison was never in the box. So I think they just need someone to just be there all the time
Hmm.
on that fight, on that, like last line of defense, just ready to burst away and be there for them. Because I agree, I think they do look like a much better side this season. If they can get that striker, they'll be rolling.
Yeah, I think one player I want to see him sign is a guy called Gift Oben, who plays for Genk in the Belgian league. He is incredible. Like the goal record that he's putting up is just phenomenal. He's got speed, he's got pace, he's an excellent finisher, and I think he'd be a great asset to kind of have in FPL and just really spice the game up a little bit. Because I feel if Spurs can get that forward, you're seeing how many chances Richarlison's getting. If they can get a forward who's going to consistently get these opportunities and put them away, it just offers so much more to the game and kind of offers different options as well, which is what you want. This was like why I was a little bit disappointed that Harry Kane left, to be honest, because it's kind of made the game a little bit easier. You know what I mean? If Kane was bagging, he's 12.5 million. You've kind of got to have a think and a little bit of like, how do I get this man in? You know, who do I have to sacrifice? Where at the moment, everyone's
Yeah,
kind of,
you're not a Haaland, are you?
yeah, exactly. Everyone's just cheap, and you're just like, well, I'll go to that one, or I'll move here, I'll move there. There's no kind of like thought behind it. You know what I mean? You can kind of afford everyone, so it is what it is.
It is. No, it
Archie,
is. To be fair, Archie, I think you're about to speak about him, but like I was actually also thinking about this question. I am intrigued to know what you think about Luton West Ham on Friday because I like the thought of Ward-Prowse coming into my team, and I do need a midfielder. But then I also like, well, I'm also aware that João Pedro's maybe someone that I need to look to get rid of, and I was thinking of saving money there by bringing in maybe a I don't know his first name, sorry, but Morris from Luton.
I'm all for this. I'm all for this, mate. I'm a fan of this.
But it's the who's your back here because this is Luton's first ever Premier League game. It's under, well, I know I'm saying under the lights, but it is. It does have an effect. I know, like at the start of seasons in the past, I think Palace have beaten Arsenal on a Friday night. I think Brentford have beaten Arsenal on a Friday night. I think like those Friday night games right at the start of the season when it's one of your first games, and this is Luton's first for so many years. Have they ever been in the Prem? They've never been in the Prem, have they?
I think they were in the original top flight, but never the
Yeah,
Premier League.
exactly. So this it's going to be such a good atmosphere. I know, like you can say all you like about the stadium. You can say all you like about Luton as a football team and whether they've got the depth and the quality to stay in the league. But I really do feel like they could cause problems, even if it is just a one game thing,
Mm.
because I do think the time of day it is, the location, the time of the season, the fans are going to be so optimistic. They're going to be right behind them when West Ham have been firing, and maybe this will just be one of those off nights for them if they're not careful. But then on the contrary, you can look at West Ham and how they've been firing. Ward-Prowse has been really, really promising.
Mm. Jared Bowen as well in that mix as well. I definitely
Oh, yes,
I included him in a free hit video I did this week. I think he'd be like one of the top players that I'd be looking to get in. To be honest, he's always a good asset to have. Is Jared Bowen?
well, lad, I had him in at the start of the season, and you told me it was a terrible shout, so I took him out for Charlton.
Whoops. I think the Richarlison one makes sense though. Like if he was bagging, there'd be no questions. You know what I mean? He's getting the positions and he's getting the chances. It's
His
Richarlison.
lack of finishing ability, yeah.
Yeah, we also forgot it's Richarlison, so it doesn't quite
Yeah.
work as well, to be honest.
We didn't forget though, did we? We didn't.
We were all for it. We were all for Richie lad just to
You
go and
went,
start
oh,
bagging.
figure it, Richarlison. Let's do it.
Yes, Richarlison is the one for me and my team. Get in there. Top quality player. Top quality player. What are my transfer plans for game week 4? Ishmael's asked. I have one free transfer, and I think it's going to be one of Salah or Sakarau for either one of the men on screen, Sterling or Madison. That's my transfer plans for
Wow,
this
that
game
is a
week.
ball. That is make or break, lad. That is a ballsy move.
It is, mate. It's very
For
ballsy.
Saka and Salah, I would be. They're definitely. You'd say they're more than 50% likely to both of them score, aren't they?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm more leaning towards Salah because it frees up a lot of money, which allows me to do a lot of other things, to be honest.
I'm going to say Salah and Saka are scoring this weekend, and both these two on your screen aren't.
Yeah, it's probably going to go that way. It just is, isn't it, to be honest? I'm going to be back down, sucking slugs, 1 million rank. But yeah, that's the way I'm leaning. Take Salah out and then save up 2 free transfers going into game week 6. Then
Nah, I joke about it, but the money is the big thing, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It is the big thing. It just frees up money. Like I think one of the things I might do is then I've got 2 free transfers to go into game week 6. So could go for Trippier and Isak. Upgrade my kind of dud players with that extra money that I've got lying around. I've seen Skiddy Panties back in the chat, and he's asked, "What's for tea tonight, boys?" He's having spicy meatballs.
Why have you shouted that? Why has he shouted spicy meatballs?
It just needs to be shouted, to be honest. Spicy meatballs. Jake's kind of cutting in and out a little bit. A little bit of technicality issues here. Technicality?
Uh-oh.
Technical issues. Yeah, you're a little bit shaky. You're cutting in and out a little bit, but it's all right. You're still here for now, just about.
Maybe that'll change things. I've just ended the stream, so I can't see what's on the stream anymore.
Yeah, you're back a little bit. You're back a little bit, to be honest. But what is for your tea tonight, Jake? The big questions are getting asked in tonight's chat.
I think it might be some prawn pasta.
Ooh, I know someone else who had some prawn pasta today.
Oh, really? Was it someone in the chat?
It was someone in the chat. It was old Sean. He had some prawn
Oh, I
pasta.
thought it might have been Scottish baguette.
No, I think he had sausage baguette for his tea tonight. Just
Oh, did he have French sausage baguette?
French sausage baguette is what he had for his tea tonight. So yeah, spicy meatballs. Interesting. Very interesting indeed.
What are you having, lad? Are you having spicy plant?
No, I've already had mine. I had temper with lentils. So, you know.
But to be fair, I can't even knock it. It does taste nice.
It's banging. It's absolutely banging. So you know.
I think the issue you have is that that's what you've had for the past 7 days.
That is also the issue. No, I had tofu last night. I had tofu. I'm a good boy.
Oh,
I'm mixing it up a little bit. Mixing it up. Archie's going to start changing his captains around in game week 5, going for some differential picks. You know, I don't hate the idea. Especially if Haaland keeps missing his pens and not taking his chances. It does offer a little bit of spice to things.
I wonder though, in all seriousness, if Haaland doesn't score this weekend, whether we do see a big change in captaincy.
I reckon so. Wolves away for you in game week 5 as well, for Salah. So there is an option there.
Wolves away is not an easy place to go to because they will just sit back against a big team.
True.
You should be able to have it, but I remember when we've gone to Wolves away, it's been a much more cagey game than you'd anticipate on paper. Because as much as Wolves do look like they can be a bit leaky, but as soon as a big team comes to town, they seem to turn it on a little bit. Unless it's City, of course. Although even then, I remember they turned around the 2-goal deficit, didn't they, a few years ago?
Yeah, they
and
did.
Adama was playing.
Big old Adama.
Big greasy Adama.
Yeah. Cam FPL's asked what's happening with Sterling. Well, nothing, to be honest. You can bring him in or you can not bring him in. I'm on the fence. Jake was anti-Sterling last week. Now he's kind of he's changed his tune.
I think I've fallen in love with Sterling, haven't I, from the sounds of things?
I hope you're bringing him in this week now, lad, after that, romantic kind of poem you gave him. It was great.
I wish I could, but unfortunately, Raz, you're just too expensive for me.
I didn't know if you knew, Jake, but Skiddy Panties told us this. Pasta is from Italy, and this is the first time that I've ever heard it. So I'm glad he's told us this information.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Yeah. I'm going to use that. I need to write that down because that is groundbreaking information, to be honest. Absolutely.
Where are these spicy meatballs from? I'm intrigued now.
Yeah. I'm a little bit intrigued now. I want to know. I want to kind of get a sense of what's on your dinner plate tonight.
Or is he having Italian pasta with it?
Yeah. What type of pasta you whipping on that bad boy? Bit of penne.
Or Scottish. Oh, the amount of options.
Did you say Scottish pasta?
No, Scottish baguette. I'm just wringing that joke dry.
Jamie Hayes has put fake news. What's fake news? Let us know.
What he's having for dinner?
What is that?
Oh no, it's pasta not Italian.
Whoa, Jamie throwing in some controversial opinions if that's the case. Jamie, you've got to back yourself up here in the chat, mate, because if you're saying pasta is an Italian, you're going to rock a lot of people's worlds, especially Skiddy Panty. Like, he's going to be in tears. Absolute
I
tears.
think that's more controversial than captaining Rodri, if you ask me.
Yeah. It's out there. It's out there. To be honest, we're gonna extend the stream just to find out what the fake news is. It's from China. Oh, apparently he's joking though. That's kind of you've ruined it a little bit there, Jamie. I hope you're happy.
To be honest, for a second, if you hadn't told me he was joking, I would have lost my shit because I can't see the stream anymore.
Marco Polo brought it back, I believe. Okay.
How has this stream gone to Marco Polo?
Marco Polo bringing back pasta from China to Italy. That's where the stream's at, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's the advice we can give you for this week's fantasy football.
Yeah. What's on your dinner? What are you having for your tea? I forgot my car keys. Debates about where pasta's from. That's now kicking off in the chat. That's not something I expected. Some
sexual NPC going crazy.
Exactly. Remember to get those in the chat. What is the sexual term for FPL? Jamie doesn't get invited to parties much because, he's making up fake news. Probably other reasons, mate. Probably other reasons. Archie's asking the even more important questions. Is garlic bread from Italy? This chat has absolutely descended.
This is going crazy, man. That is mad.
Oh, dear. What has this chat become? I'm going to try and steer it back a little bit towards football. And I'm going to say to you, Jake, what do you think is going to be the highest scoring game of this weekend?
Oof. I think Liverpool Villa.
Yeah. Okay. Who's winning it, though?
I'm gonna say Liverpool, purely because we're at home. But I do think Villa will give us a good game. I'm gonna go for a 4-2 win.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know how confident. I can't actually remember how confident I was. I don't think I was very confident against Newcastle. So yeah, I like to think I balance out my opinions with my bias for the club. But yeah, and I think Villa will give us a really good game. I think they should. They're well entitled to, and I hope they don't just sit back. I hope they do just go for it because I feel like they could cause a lot of problems for us. They are pace on the attack, aren't they? So it's going to be interesting. Thinking about it out loud, no Canate, no Van Dijk, so that'll be interesting. I think Gomez had a great game against Newcastle, but consistency is the downfall he's suffered from since his long-term injury a couple of years ago. So that'll be interesting. I wonder who will pair. I assume it'll be Gomez and Matip at the back.
Yeah.
Although that the youngster Quincer played, and I mean he only played a couple of minutes, but I think that was just to get a few extra fresh legs on the pitch, considering the amount of time we've had 10 men. So I assume it'll be Gomez and Matip. So there are a few holes there for Villa to exploit, especially with their pace. So, like I say, it could go either way. But I'm going to go for a 4-2 win. What should be 0-0 now? But
yeah. But I definitely think you raised some good points there about your defence potentially looking a little bit leaky. Maybe a good thing for Ollie Watkins owners. Maybe you don't bench Matty Cash. Maybe he gets a couple this weekend.
Well, Gomez have got a clean sheet point then.
What minute did he come on?
27th, I want to say. Or no? Oh, well, so if it was before the 30th minute, he would have got a clean sheet, won't he?
Yep, he would have got a clean sheet. Bonus.
Well played, Joe.
Nice that. The chat is just continuing.
Who drafted Gomez this week?
The chat's.
What about you? Are you back in City?
Yeah, I think I've got to be honest. We're going with a 6-0. It's going to be 0-0, isn't it? But yeah, I think I just go City.
City at home are an absolute monster against anyone. I think they're going to toy with Fulham. I really do.
FPL Tiger's the first one to get his sexual innuendo in for FPL, and absolutely, it's a good one.
Am I going to have to search it?
I think you're gonna have to drop in the chat. I'm not gonna read these out loud, but if you want to get them in, you know.
I think you should read them out loud so that they get clipped.
Yeah. Get clipped, gets demonetized. You know, it's what we want. It's what we want. I've got a good one, but I'll send it you after this. To be honest, I'm not whacking it in the chat. Straight.
Born and bred in England. That's an interesting FPL. Oh no.
Yep, there's another one. They're flying in now. Absolutely flying.
Nice.
The immaturity levels of this chat are just peak. So good, so good. My final
I
question.
think the Labrador part's interesting, to be honest. It makes absolutely no sense. I feel like he was onto something.
I mean, if that's
But
if that's the way you want to go, you know.
I do worry if he's got a dog now.
Yeah, if Lewis was in this chat, he'd be all for the Labrador part, but he isn't.
Yeah,
so,
he would.
Yeah.
So fortunately, he's not seen to feature tonight.
He's not. He didn't fancy popping in. But yeah, I'm gonna try and steer it back to FPL before we, get the RSPCA on the case, asking about what we're doing with dogs. I'm gonna ask you, who do you think is going to be the random player this week that just explodes and does extremely well?
You know what? I'm gonna go for Morris at Luton. I think there's a chance that Luton could do something, and if they are, he seems like the focal point for them. He has scored their only goal in the league so far. Granted, they've only played one game, but they've only played 2 games. But yeah, I think I'd like to see Luton do well. I'd like to see them win this weekend. It'd be great to see them stay up. It's going to be a long season for them, but I think if they're going to stay up, they need to make the most of these. Well, I do really feel like the home evening games really do make a difference because the atmosphere is 10 times better than the 3 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, we'll go for Morris. How about you?
So there's 2 that I have in mind. One is Brown from Luton. Scored yesterday in the Carabao Cup. I think he's looked quite sharp when he's come off the bench. I think they might just throw him in, and I just have a random feeling that he might bag. And then I'm going Beto. I'm going big boy Beto from Everton. Sheffield United away, mate. It's got Beto screaming all over it, to be honest.
Or do I go Cameron Archer?
Oh, now there's a pick. There's a pick. Yeah,
because Sheffield United could beat Everton.
Yeah, it is a real possibility, to be honest.
But yeah, you are right. If Sheffield United win that game, Sean is in trouble.
He's looking job centre down the barrel, to be honest.
Have you decided you're last man standing yet?
Nah, I haven't, and I've been looking at it, and I'm thinking I probably am gonna go Spurs versus Burnley, but it just seems a bit honky. You know what I mean? I feel I'm not in a good position this week, to be honest. Yeah,
because the only man left is Man City, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's gone Man City, and I used City last week, so I'm in a little bit of a sticky position.
Why didn't you do what I didn't go Everton?
Yeah. Early kickoff. Back Gandhi. Take on Gandhi at 12:30. Maybe.
We'll see. Yeah.
We've had a question from Archie. Any deadline day transfer rumours you've heard that could be good for FPL teams?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, that Ansu Fati was being talked about by Spurs. I mean, it's one hell of a signing if they get that sorted. True. Probably it's just rumours, but that would be a cracking signing. They've also still kept tabs on Brennan Johnson, and I haven't really seen anything of him at Forest, so maybe that's something that's not fully ended. Yeah. Anything from you?
I think the one that's already gone through is Nunes Tavares from Arsenal to Nottingham Forest. 4 million defender, 8 attacking returns in Ligue 1 last season. He could be one that we potentially maybe look for in terms of our next wild card. And then I reckon the only other one that I could potentially see is if Spurs sign a striker. I think that could be a big game changer. I know we've kind of spoke about that at length, to be honest, but I think that could be a game changer for them.
Agreed. No, I agree with that.
But yeah, I don't think we're going to get any more kind of questions in. We did start a little bit later today. Sorry about that. I just didn't fancy my keys. I just fancied chucking them on the floor. I've enjoyed this stream with my good friend Jake. We are always streaming on Wednesdays around 7 p.m. So if you do want to come in and kind of have any questions about your FPL team or where pasta's from, or, you know, any other random what you having for tea tonight questions, then get yourself along to this stream because, you know, unlike the big streamers, we'll read your chat. We'll go through the nonsense and we'll work with it. But yeah, as well, we do, well, I say we, Jake will be in the chat, but I'll be there. On Friday is the deadline stream. I'll be going live from 4:15 on TikTok and YouTube as well. So come in, pop along to them. They're also great. Also just random bits of banter. If you've got any questions about your team or any deadline dilemmas, they will be answered in there. And, you know, you get yourself in the chat. It's pretty cool. It's just a good way to spend your Friday afternoons, to be honest. Don't bother speaking to women. Come and speak to me on your Friday, if you're off as well, or just finishing up work. Come speak to me. You'll have a much better time. A much better time. Any final thoughts from you, Jake?
No, not from me. All good. I think we've covered everything that we need to, and I feel like the less I say, the better about any players, just so they jinx anything.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you very much for joining me again, mate. And thank you everyone in the chat who participated today. And if you kind of watched along and didn't chat. But yeah, there we go. Archie said, who needs women? That's the spirit, son.
Oh, apparently, if anyone's interested, there's supposed to be some super blue moon tonight.
Oh, there we go. Look at this. Look at this. We've grown up a little bit. This has become a bit cultured. Blue moon.
So if you can see the moon at sunset, apparently I don't know what it means, like, but apparently it's a second. Is it something to do with like a second full moon in the month or something? Yeah, and there's apparently Saturn and Mars just chilling in the sky.
Wow.
So yeah, more you know.
Well, that's a lovely place to leave it. Thank you very much thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and see you on Friday and see you next week in the preview stream.